ready. Here we go. Hi guys, how are you? This is Friday and this is of course our design talk day. And you can see that we are in a different type of, wait just a second. We need to put this on. We are in a different type of environment simply because this is recorded, okay, and it's not live. As you know, when you will be watching, I will be probably already by the sea for a few days with my son, and I think it's well deserved. So anyway, I didn't want to miss this meeting, this weekly meeting with you, and therefore we're gonna talk about our design talk meeting. And before doing that, I just want to show you this. I just got my iPad Air with Procreate and the magic Apple Pen so that I can start on my own to make some nice sketching digital artwork, whether it's gonna be for cars, products, or for my digital art expression for the other YouTube channel and Instagram profile. So stick around, check what I will be doing, and of course I have to learn. All right, so don't be too picky on my first illustrations and sketches, but I try my best to do as much as I can the way I sketch on paper, so that I can demonstrate that if you know how to sketch on paper really correctly with a very good basis, then you can take no matter what device in your hands, and after few days or few hours of getting used to it, which is always a new tool, you will be able, of course, to master any device with no problems, because you have the basics of drawing. Okay, so some people asked me in some emails to tell a little bit more about what happens when designers work with modelers, whether there are digital modelers or whether they are manual modelers on clay or other materials, to understand better this type of the process of the design process. So what's going on when our sketches become a virtual model, how much the designer, the young designer, the designer, owner of that idea is still implicated, and what about the design management into that design process step, which becomes very delicate, very important before we mill out a model or before we get a real clay model underway in progress. So, as I said, other times everything starts on paper, or paper and digital on Photoshop or Procreate, for example. So people sketch, okay, designers sketch. In general, there is always our design team dedicated to a specific project. And according to the brief, people make their brainstorming in the very early stage of the design process. Then there is a selection. And this selection, of course, is done with design management, design director, and sometimes also with people from product planning or marketing that come and watch. It's not that their feedback is extremely important in terms of giving the direction for the right design and the right choice to take, but it's extremely important to understand a little bit better which one will be the client, type that will be interested in that project in the next 5 or 10 years. And therefore also in the environment, we will understand with their feedback whether our design that we are expressing, the ideas are going into the right direction. Okay, direction in terms of, as I said, the environment, social trends, people, habits, evolution. And then according to that, then will be, of course, the design management, the design director, the design managers, the designer themselves, of course, that will have a feel about that feedback, and then will say, okay, then this idea probably is best compared to the other one. So a choice is made. And when that choice is made, we go into digital modeling, because the design process, as I said, is shorter compared to some years ago, thanks to technology, thanks also to the evolution of designers' mentality. Also myself, even though my age, I am, of course, very much in favor of this digital step that the technology gave us to shorten the time to market, okay, for any product, for any car. Therefore, we go into digital, and Alias software is the most used one into professional design centers. But I know that in some other companies and also in some schools, you can also, other than Alias, Autodesk, you can go on different few others softwares, for example Reno or Blender and stuff like that, which are fine, but Alias remains the link between Blender Step and the Katia V6, which is the most advanced technical software used by engineers and suppliers to make tooling, which means for production. And there we really go not at decimals of millimeters, but even lower. So the tolerance is very, very, very strict. Okay, that's a big difference. When we work with Alias in a sketch model or with Blender or Reno, we can have between 5 and 10 millimeters, tolerance, which means you can make something that is 1 centimeter higher or smaller or in the centimeter. But as soon as the model goes through the loops of decision making and evolutions, things start getting tight and tighter. Why? Because we are getting close to the step of the design process with which we interact a lot with engineers and suppliers. Therefore, they require something that is extremely precise, and they're right. Therefore, we move our model, digital model, from software that is a little bit more sketchy, okay, with which we still have a beautiful renderings, films to analyze, design, decide things, and have a very strong effect of what might be reality. But then there is another step that we have to take, which is very important, that will last around 4-5 months of loops. Okay, it's not that we take 5 months to make a model. We keep on updating because we, as I said, we work with engineers, and that step, it's the alias Autodesk modeling, because it's a software that is very flexible, excellent for design environment, for designers, okay, and gives us the opportunity to get into the millimeter type of tolerance. So that's very important to know, because the millimeter means that we go between the early stage that we had that 10 millimeter tolerance of how we put surfaces and lines to 1 millimeter, okay? And then when we will move to CATIA, which means that when we finished with our model it became frozen, okay, which means frozen design, which is a part of the design process, then that model will go to CATIA, and that millimeter tolerance will go down to 0 to 5, okay? So it's a quarter of half a millimeter. You understand how precise we will be working. And designers and design managers will be working on that, okay? So we will check, we will manage all the modifications and changes that are required by technicality and technology in order to realize the real parts and assemble them together to make the car, that have to go that precise. But that's our job. So we will do that. We know how to do it, and we feel very confident, okay? And we will be fine. Now let's go a step back. Let's get when we are in the sketching, modeling stage. In that case, the designer, mainly the designer, owner of that idea, and with his sketches or her sketches, will be working in a team, in a team of 2 people, which is a digital design modeler, okay, plus the designer. We call them digital design modeler because they are part of the creative family of a design studio. Those are colleagues that work and specialize on Alias modeling or Blender modeling or Rhino modeling, okay? And they will make the model according to the sketch and the package. But as I said, with that centimeter, difference tolerance. Therefore, they are kind of free. They are not too. We don't put them the handcuffs right away. So the designer can express the surfaces. They can make nice lines and everything. And maybe the wheels will be a little bit bigger, whatever. But anyway, there is a very nice freedom allowed in that step, okay? Now, when we'll do several loops, okay, of this type of work, which will last around 3-4 months or maybe 3 months, with design management, it will be basically generating a design model in virtual, made by the designer and the design digital modeler that will be working every day on that model. They will be working together. They will maybe sometimes the design digital modeler cannot do certain things, and therefore the designer has to sketch sections, or ask the design digital modeler to make some nice pictures in perspective or in side view of that digital model. Therefore, the designer on Photoshop can sketch it over and explain better how a certain type of how can I say, passage between a surface to another should be done. You know, sketching, putting highlights, putting sections on top, so that the design modeler will understand better and can move on with that model. Okay, so then there will be a sort of internal design loops, which means we all watch or on a big screen, huge screen, or in a medium-sized screen, like a big TV at home, and we watch that that model. We will have our design modeler that moves with the mouse, of course, the model in 3D, okay, in all perspective. There will be a small committee of people like design director, design management, the designers, few other designers sometimes, or modelers that can express in terms of surfacing their feedback. They can give their feedback. They can also look at some defaults that or some details that sometimes young designers don't see, and therefore we decide how to move on. And those are loops that are made in a matter of 3-4 months to make sure that we really nail down the right design with the right spirit, with the right feeling. And when we watch the sketches that were chosen and the real design on package, even if we have that centimeter of tolerance, they basically look pretty much the same. At the same time, this same digital model is a file, and that file is given by the design manager, which would be me in this case, to the IV, which means to the engineering department. Because there we have another team that will look at that thing and will analyze, making lots of sections with all the hard points underneath: structure, ergonomy, tooling rules, to make sure that the parts can come out of the tooling, you know, degree angles for printing and stuff like that, for stamping and for stuff like that. And therefore there is another sort of loop between design and engineering according to the design that has evaluated in the right direction. And therefore we all work together so that in a couple of 3 months we get all the modifications that a design manager will negotiate with engineers to make sure that we can solve problems, because it's a real problem solving period of time. And we can generate a digital model that has all the instances, including all the good instances solved by design, marketing, and product planning, but also from engineering. And then when we have that file on which everybody feels like 78% of the job is well done, mainly by engineering, okay, then we are tranquil. And what do? We start milling. We mill in 1-to-1 scale. And we do the first one, sometimes is white foam, soft foam, you know, in full scale, because we see proportions with all the detail. Even if it's all white, it's enough to get a good feeling. It's a quick process with the white foam, because in a week basically is from the day you press the button to mill the 1-to-1 scaling foam to the day you see the model. After 5-6 days you have the model, so it's quite fast. Then once we see that, we still can retouch the digital model, because we discover when we see things in real life that there are still few things that don't work well. Therefore we go and fix them. Of course we inform engineering and we explain why we do that, and therefore we realize a new updated digital model that will be milled this time in clay. And why in clay? Because now we are getting to the step where there is a manual modeler, okay, clay modeler, that is a pure artist, okay, I say one, but in reality there are 3 or 4, it's a small team, that will work with the same designer, owner of that idea, that will work with the same design manager, design director for that team, design team. And then of course the design manager, once that clay model is finished, will invite the engineering and the rest of the team of that for that project the rest of the team of that company, of course, to come and check and explain, look, we did this, we did that, look, check this here, the site is correct, the light is in the right position, that's the design we want. And they start analyzing that type of model, which will be painted with the DESIGNTalk film, which means that the clay is not painted, but there is a sort of a pellicula, a film that is metallic gray. This is applied. I'm sure all of you know about that because on YouTube it's full of videos about that, so you can go and check it out. And it's like a painted model. Therefore, we can check stuff, and engineering people can come with their teams of technical people or engineers, and they come and take measurements and check. And this part is very important because over there we are not anymore in the centimeter, but we are coming down to a tolerance of 5 millimeters. This is very important to say because you understand that the more we move on into the design process for that project, and the tighter we close down to the really smallest tolerance needed to say that we have a real project that can be shared, approved and shared with suppliers and the facilities that will stamp the sheet metal stuff, etc. Okay, so this is exactly what happens, very briefly, okay, but for the most important steps, so that you can understand in an easy way, because believe me, it is very complex and complicated. Sometimes can become very time consuming, but it's important for you not to go too much into the detailing, but to really understand that design process. And that's what we do. So, to come back to the main question, can you explain to us how a designer has to interact with a design modeler or a design clay modeler, digital modeler or clay modeler? This is how it happens. And therefore you can understand it. It's a very nice thing because this part of modeling, whether it's in digital, but for me, even more on clay, it gives the idea really to feel your design. You really feel what you're doing. It's your baby. Your baby is born. And that's the magic moment that every designer, of course, dreams, especially young people that did not have an experience with the full clay model or full scale model milled out of a digital model. So that's the born of your design. And then we will have another series of short loops with the company and the higher management to make sure that the evolution of that clay model will be very well done, that all the people agree that that's the thing to do, and that clay model will be scanned by a big machine and will become basically digital. So that file of that clay model that has been retouched by hand and verified technically will be scanned, so that we'll take that scan in digital, we'll bring it back to the original alias model as design, okay, as design department. We update completely in every single detail, even half millimeters. We move things to make sure that the digital model we are making will follow 100% that scan of that clay model. And that's how the artistic value of clay modeling is transferred into digital, because digital only will never give you that sweetness, that juicy effect of clay modeling, clay surfacing with those beautiful reflections and perfect lines and stuff. Therefore, that's the last part of the process that the design manager, in that point it's a design manager more than the young designer. Design manager has to supervise, manage, and then exchange with the rest of the company to the engineering department. Then once this is finished, in a way the main design creative step is completed. Then, of course, as I explained many times, it is the design manager, design director that will keep on working with the engineering department, the suppliers, to make the real car, and therefore take that virtual model and make sure that all the tooling that will be made by all departments and by all suppliers will be respectful of that clay original model that became the final digital model. Okay, so I hope that I was clear in this storytelling, which is a true story, how we make how we go from a sketch to a real model that then is ready for the production process, which is the last year and a half basically of work that the company needs in order to complete and put that car into production. All right, today the time to market from first sketch to production, it's around 4 or 5 years, 4 years, I would say 4 years. And in some cases, in some countries like China, for example, where they go a little bit faster, they can do this in 3 years and a half or 3 years, depending on the type of project and also the size of the project. Small car is a little bit faster than a big car or a big LCV, for example. All right, so I really hope that you enjoyed this kind of quick design talk. If you liked it, please put your super sticker, super chat, or click my PayPal tip link that you have here, down here into the description. Stick with this channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new and share this video if you wish, okay? Thank you very much. Now I am probably, at this moment, I am already on a nice beach, 3-4 days, and I'll be back. I'll see you on Tuesday. Tuesday, I'm already receiving some of your sketches. Don't forget, your sketch, my feedback. So don't forget, Instagram or via email, send me your sketches to review on Tuesday. Ciao.